You touch on an important point, trust. That
Yeah.
is so, so key. You know, as I always make this mention when I was growing up doing A levels, you know, a group of us studying, you know, the book, our library book will just go missing, or the page from that same topic will go missing. And you know it's someone from right among the same group. You won't see the group and no one, everybody's just silent. And that's where it started from.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah. But you know, I think that we've, it's something, you know, it's something that's nurtured because we've been nurtured to compete with each other because, you know, one of the things that I'm strongly against is this whole 11 plus examination.
Oh, oh.
And it's so competitive and students are put under an enormous amount of pressure to do better than the other person next to them and to achieve this and that goes with them for the rest of their life, and as they pass through the entire schooling system, that's what they're forced to do. But and so if my friend becomes my competitor when I get into an examination room because I want to beat him because society dictates that I need to be able to do that. Now, that's fine. I believe that everyone should achieve the highest degree of success possible. I think that, you know, I don't believe in this notion that we're all winners. There are always going to be losers. You know, this, you know, I don't subscribe to that. However, I do subscribe to the notion that if we're able to help each other succeed, we all will succeed in the process. And, you know, one of the things that I've constantly been battling with is this idea of getting entrepreneurs to share their ideas, share their thoughts, share their process. Because, you know, I've seen entrepreneurs, and it's such an unfortunate thing. I've seen entrepreneurs allow a fantastic idea to die simply because they don't want to share it with someone else for fear that that person might steal the idea. And so they just stick with it within them and do nothing with it because that fear of someone, you know, stealing their idea, or, you know, that strong presence of distrust that they will never share it. And the whole process of sharing is to strengthen the idea. Because in sharing your ideas, now I'm not saying to share your you know, your industry secrets, or to share your core plans with others, but to share the concept, what you're trying to achieve, so that you can benefit from a number of contributions that can in turn strengthen your idea. And in so doing, you're able to get multiple perspectives that allows you then to look at it from a totally different set of lens that can only benefit you in the long run.
So then, how do we solve that problem? Well, my solution would be start with yourself, share your secrets, share your ideas. That's the only way to start breaking it down step by step.
I think it always has to start with the individual. You know, you say be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
And I think that certainly is the case. I also believe, and it's starting to happen. I'm very encouraged to see a lot of young entrepreneurs starting to explore the idea of more collaboration, exploring the idea of developing a lot of networking opportunities where they can come together and they can share, you know, challenges, share problems, solutions, look at ideas for strengthening their own businesses. And the more these things happen, the more we start to break down the barriers of distrust. And and I believe that if we can do that in a systematic way, where we develop these peer-to-peer conversations. Where this is one here right now, my conversation with you.
Yes.
And me talking to you about what I've done and what I believe and what I've been able to achieve. I mean, is only one step in that process.
Yeah. What I want people to also explore is that the internet, Google, Mr. Google. There's so many groups when you reach out to people in other parts of the world, other parts of the country, and you get overwhelming response. Now, that you have to be careful. You have to make sure the person is credible and all that. But all being said, that someone will respond to you and help you.
Yeah. I think that the internet has become an incredibly useful tool for the entrepreneur, for any individual really, but primarily I believe for entrepreneurs it's an invaluable tool used correctly.
Yeah.
And it can be your worst enemy, and it
like everything in life, balance. So, Selwyn, who has been a really important example to you in your life?
My mom has been an incredible inspiration for me because she's been my strength for a very long time. And secondly, my brother, my older brother, has been a very strong sense of tenacity and inspiration. I mean, when I was growing up, I remember his exploits as an entrepreneur and his successes and his failures, and that has certainly helped me to fashion the whole entrepreneurial spirit. My mom was never an entrepreneur. She was a homemaker. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she really helped to inculcate in me a deep sense of self and what it meant to be who I am. And I started out as a youth wanting to become an artist, and in that time, someone wanted to become an artist was a big no-no, because making money.
Yeah.
It's not one of those career paths that you want your child to take. But my mom has always been very supportive of me, and I believe that it's allowed me to really explore the avenues that's really provided me with opportunities that I now pursue. Outside of those individuals, I think that one person that I don't know the individual, but Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that book, and from the time I read that book, it really changed my perspective on entrepreneurship and business, and then it helped me to develop the mindset. What's possible when you put your mind to it. And then there have been several other authors after that. Mind you, I've read most of Kiyosaki's books, and that's been a real inspiration. Michael E. Gerber from the Entrepreneur Myth as well has been a tremendous inspiration as well.
And what are you incredibly grateful for?
I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to make a difference. I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that the real difference that I can make is in the life or my two kids, and the fact that I am determined to ensure that they develop with a strong sense of self and confidence to be able to know that they can achieve whatever they put their minds to. Mm-hmm. It's pursuing a path that their dad pursued, or whether it's pursuing an alternate path. I'm very, very, very excited about the opportunity that I've been given to help other entrepreneurs as well. So I'm most grateful for that, because I get my greatest satisfaction from being able to help someone else succeed. So
that is really that's really nice of you, that you are giving back. You're finding time to help someone else.
I am, and you know, I don't want to sound as though I'm, you know, this big humanitarian or anything. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, you know, but so all of my endeavors are all geared towards, yes, helping others and helping other entrepreneurs succeed. But at the end of the day, I decided to make a business out of it. So, you know, for me, I yes, it might be called a social business. You know, I might be able to be termed a social entrepreneur, but I just say it's a business with a cause.
With a cause, yeah. And you're making your living by it, as helping the society. So, what more can you want?
Yes. Yeah.
So, what is next on the agenda for you, Selwyn, and Ethnic Vision?
Well, continued growth, continued expansion. I think that we've been able to do a lot of work in most of the Caribbean, if not all of the Caribbean territories, and we've started to expand outward in the UK and the US as well. But for me, I think in the immediate future, what we're working on right now is developing a platform to really capture the fantastic business opportunities and experiences that are happening within the Caribbean that many people don't know of. The Caribbean has been known for a very long time for its sun, sand, and sea.
Yes.
And that's what we've been portrayed as. But resident within the Caribbean also are some fantastic business opportunities and incredibly exciting investment opportunities. And a very, I believe, a very thriving business prospects that exist that, you know, are not being covered. So, for example, my business, yes, is resident within Barbados, and I can safely tell you that I would not be able to confidently speak about what's happening in business-wise in maybe the Cayman Islands, simply because there's no connection that gives the information insight into what's happening business-wise in those markets, and so that's what we're working on right now. We're putting together a network that covers the Caribbean business landscape and brings to both regional and international companies and interested persons opportunities for exploration, and kind of feature and focus on those exciting individuals and organizations that are making the business community what it is in the region.
And this is something that you have started, or is in the process?
Something that we're currently in the process of developing. We are going to launch it in the beginning of the second quarter of this year.
Okay.
we're in the process of putting all of the elements together and doing all of the necessary groundwork. It's going to be a combination of television, print, and the use of the internet to really bring together a fantastic platform for persons to really explore the life of business in the region.
Okay, okay. And would it be for do you have like private investors, and would it be also to providing a resource for budding entrepreneurs to turn to, like?
Much so, very much so. Outside of really showcasing businesses and what they're doing, showcasing individuals, executives, CEOs, and what they're doing, and you know, covering the analysis of the various Caribbean markets, a strong emphasis would also be on entrepreneurial development. Okay. And you know, creating a resource for businesses in that early growth stage to really connect with us and develop their businesses in tandem with what we're doing.
Okay. Oh, that's a lot of work, and you definitely would have to have a lot of people from all over the islands, all your different networkers.
Tell me about it. Yes.
Well, I guess with technology, like what we're doing now, Skype and GoToMeeting, it will make it a little easier.
Yeah, but it's still quite a lot of work because, you know, it's quite surprising actually, because there's nothing like it right now in the region. There's nowhere you can turn to really get regional business news or insight into what's happening on a scope. You'll probably get on a national scope. So individual territories would have their business covered, and you can go find out what's happening in Trinidad, find out what's happening in Jamaica or Guyana or Barbados. But what we wanted to be able to do is to have one place where the entire region is brought together from a business perspective, and what's happening in individual territories are all brought together, because I strongly believe that in order for the Caribbean to really compete on an international scale, we've got to function as a holistic body and not as nationalistic states where we just go, you know, the path of individual territories trying to compete. Because, for example, a beverage manufacturer in Trinidad trying to break into a huge market like the US.
Yeah.
300 million, and trying to do that is hard pressed to get 4 or 5 beverage companies coming together from different parts of the region to produce product to satisfy such a large market. And I think that's where we start to compete on economies of scale, where we start to scale back on our exposure to risk by combining the resources of multiple companies to really compete. And there again lies the whole issue of trust.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just going to say, you need to be an advisor to CARICOM, because that's what CARICOM's supposed to be doing for us.
Well, you know, I think CARICOM has got its own share of problems.
Yeah, they do.
So, you know, I really think that this is a private sector solution that has to be supported by a public sector policy. So it's not necessarily going, I believe private sector needs to drive this.
Yeah.
The ones that are going to be the beneficiaries of it, and we have to be able to dictate the way the policy is structured. And unfortunately, I believe that, you know, we're yet to see the private sector in the region recognize its true worth and its true influence that it has on government officials and the whole decision-making process within government. So maybe that'll happen sooner than we think, but I'm still waiting to see.
See that. Same here. I'm still waiting to see that the private sector stepping it out and saying we are going to do it, come together as a group, and the government policies and the government official will follow suit.
But they have to, I mean, because at the end of the day, the government develops policy to benefit the private sector.
Yes.
So if you're developing policy that has absolutely no bearing on the constituents that you're trying to serve, then what's the deal? What's the reason for it? It's just another debt policy that doesn't make any difference. So I believe that if the private sector were to be more actively involved in the decision making process and the design of policy, then we'll start to see more relevant policies develop that the private sector can make more use of.
Yeah.
And you know, I am probably an eternal optimist.
It with minds like you and more support coming together, it will happen.
I'm sure it will.
It will happen, yours. Well, Selwyn, thank you so much for taking time to do this interview with me this morning.
Nice. No problem at all. No problem. Thanks for having me.